Hi, this is Keith Bryant for Global SMT and Packaging at Productronica India, and I'm here with a very important guest for us, Mr. Alkesh, who is a former government secretary and author of an excellent article which is published in our event supplement for anyone who would like to read it. And he was also present this morning at the inauguration of Semicon, where the Prime Minister was speaking. So, Mr. Alkesh, welcome, and let's start by saying, give me your thoughts on this morning.
Oh, thank you so much. As we see the way conference is going on, it has been quite an impressive inaugural session. Prime Minister spoke about his plan and the vision for next 15 to 20 years, how India is going to go global. When we talk about electronics manufacturing or it is about semiconductor. So that's quite interesting. And if I would like to go back when we organized the first semiconductor conference in India, that time the global players, when we were talking to them, they were saying, why India? And last year when we organized the Semiconductor 2 in Gandhinagar, that time largely the global leaders were saying, why not India? And this time when we find this morning and the kind of response we got from global companies, almost every global company has a presence here today in semiconductor space, and they are saying, wow, India. So things have really come to a place where people are looking at India. And in today's inaugural session, and it was detailed out by Honorable Prime Minister of India, that how we are going to create an ecosystem, how we are going to create an enabling environment, and how government is going to play a catalytic role to invite semiconductor companies to come and invest in India. We are looking for building up supply chain so that it becomes an end-to-end solution provider for the whole world.
Yeah, I just heard you say 15 to 20 years, and that's a vision that you don't hear when you hear what most governments have planned. And you know, for me, that's really exciting because, you know, there's a very old saying: Rome was not built in a day, and you know it held true then, and it holds true now. You know, it takes about 2 years to set up a fab. You know, you can't plan to do everything in a year and then everything goes away afterwards. So to have this kind of a vision, it's very, for me, it's very exciting, and for probably a lot of the global companies who were there this morning, it's very reassuring to hear that there's this kind of vision happening in India, because for me, that's part of the wow. You know, it's not, yeah, we're going to throw some money at it for a year, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and somebody else will have to pick the problem up in 2 or 3 years' time. You know, it's you know, we're building it's almost to say at least in semiconductor, we're building a foundation, and as you say, you have this understanding that you have to build an ecosystem. You can't just build a fabrication plant. You need an OSAT, you need a supply chain, and you need the labor. And you know, you need the quality almost, you know, you need the quality of power, you need the quality of water, all the other things to put it together. It's a whole, as you say, it's a whole ecosystem that you need.
Absolutely. So absolutely, this is how the government has been planning. And as we say, that building a semiconductor ecosystem is not a fly-by-night activity, or it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a slow and steady, it takes time. So we have to plan systems, procedures, we have to create, as it was mentioned, that we should have a combination of innovation, trust and democracy. And I think today India has all the three. There is a stability of governments. For the last, now this is the third term, Prime Minister Modi is coming back. There is a democracy, so the law takes its own place, and law is supreme. And then India is a thriving bed for innovations. The kind of startup ecosystem we are building up is one of the fastest growing ecosystem in the world. And they are coming out with, whether it is deep tech startups, whether you talk about chips manufacturing, you talk about chips design system. So the whole ecosystem, we are building up component by component. As you rightly said, we have to have utilities, we have to have pure water supply, electricity, create a plug and play facilities for them. Also, we should have an enabling system, the ease of doing business, so that there is no delay in giving approval to the project. We should also look at that, completely de-risk the investment. Then only people will come. They have to give them that assurance that your investment is safe in India. And I think that is the kind of message which has gone from the Prime Minister's address today. And that is what the whole government ecosystem, whether it is in electronics and IT, where ministry is facilitating, whether it is the finance department or the taxation policy or the how do we attract investment, how do we invest more into R&D facilities. So the whole ecosystem is being built. Simultaneously, there is a lot of work going on in developing skills. We need to have a good workforce. For that, we have started another program, Chips to Startup. We have almost 113 universities and engineering colleges and IITs of India. We are giving a special training to them so that they become the industry-ready workforce.
Yep.
And we are going to set up about 85,000 engineers will come out of these institutions in the next couple of years. So the whole ecosystem is being built. And there is a lot of good response. When I was talking to some of the global leaders, they have all been showing a lot of interest. They are looking at how to set up the things. Some of them have already started setting up. We have already given approval to 5 companies in Fab as well as in Assembly, ATMP and OSAT. And there are many more in the pipeline. Government of India is also expanding its budget. We started with 10 billion. Now there is a proposal that we should have another 10 to 15 billion, which should be given as incentives. So a lot of work is happening in India.
Yeah, and as you say, you tick all of the boxes for a large global organization looking for a new country to expand, to move away from areas where it thinks maybe it's heavily overexposed, and with a government who is, I've got to use the word enthusiastic. You know, I mean, the people are enthusiastic. The people I talk to at this show are enthusiastic, and it sounds like even this morning the Prime Minister is enthusiastic, and he understands that, you know, a strong economy comes from manufacturing, and you know it's dare I say it, there are other politicians in other countries who don't understand that manufacturing in those countries is declining, and then suddenly the whole ecosystem is starting to fall apart as well. But you know, manufacturing drives growth, and growth drives earnings, whether it's tax that gets paid by the people or tax that gets paid by the companies. But if you can get that positive thing rolling, you know, it's going to be, it generates stability, and the stability itself encourages more people to come and join.
Absolutely. So this is how the whole ecosystem, the focus on manufacturing, the way India's GDP is growing at 7 to 8%, I think one of the fastest growing economy today, GDP. And the focus on manufacturing, on all components of manufacturing, whether it is utilities, whether it is putting up infrastructure of roads and highways and the logistics that is being put up simultaneously. A lot of focus is also being made to ensure that our component ecosystem also gets built up simultaneously. Domestic manufacturing should also pick up. We should identify domestic Indian companies who may become champions. They work closely with international companies, develop technology collaborations, and then build up the whole techno ecosystem for India. The labor force, we have tie up with companies where we are sending our engineers for training. They come back and they become work ready, and simultaneously these institutions, they will also be training them. And so the whole even on the critical minerals, government is quite aware of what we need to do. We have set up a mission. We also have set up a company which is negotiating. So the whole idea is that we should also ensure that in supply chain all components should, should collaborate, should all be made available so that there is no single point failure anywhere. I think that is the whole thing is it has to be an end-to-end supply. An end-to-end
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah, it's good that you have you're thinking in a well, everyone here seems to be thinking in a very joined up way. You know, it's about beginning to the end, and it's so good to hear, and also the fact that you have a mixture of large multinationals who are moving in, and also indigenous companies like Keynes who are growing like crazy in this. Let's call it a new wonderful environment for them. And you know they're able to meet the challenge and take the risks, and it's really good to have a balance. You know there are some countries that get growth, but it's only when the big multinational companies move in. And you know we saw this a few years ago, well, a lot of years ago now in Ireland. A lot of multinationals moved in because of subsidies and everything else. And then there's a change in government or something, the subsidies stop and everybody moves out. And you know now if you're building that indigenous mass as well, you have this security whatever happens in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the whole focus is that we should create domestic value addition in everything that is being built in India, have technology collaborations with our foreign partners, invite them to set up their base here, do skill training for our indigenous engineers and the workers, so that there is a frugal manufacturing environment which India can provide, should make in India for the domestic consumption, as well as we should also look at how we export from India. I think that ecosystem, that formula has worked well in other sectors, so we are going to do the same thing. In mobile it has worked quite well. In semiconductor also we are working on the similar formula. And I'm sure things will be good.
I'm sure it's going to be successful, sir, as well. Thank you very much for sharing your time and your insights with us today. And it's a pleasure. And I hope to come back next year and you can tell me how much things have improved even more.
Thank you. We'll be meeting you.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
That's Keith Bryant for Global SMT and Packaging at Productronica India, signing off.